Okay,
Really
first of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at, so I'm thinking.
Most WNBA players join a team, play their role, and move on without creating much attention. Sophie Cunningham's story was completely different. She arrived on the most watched team in women's basketball, quickly became one of the biggest talking points in the league, went viral after a highly publicized incident, and later opened up about what it is really like playing alongside Caitlin Clark. What she shared surprised many fans because it challenged opinions that had been accepted for months. To understand why her comments carried so much weight, you have to look back to the day everything changed for her. After spending 6 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, Cunningham had built a reputation as a tough competitor, dependable shooter, and fearless teammate. Then came the announcement that she was heading to the Indiana Fever. This was not just another trade. She was joining the team of Caitlin Clark, the most talked about player in women's basketball, and the center of nonstop media attention. The move was part of a massive 10-team trade that immediately became one of the biggest stories in the league. From that moment forward, Cunningham found herself in an environment unlike anything she had experienced before. Her start in Indiana was anything but smooth. A preseason ankle injury delayed her debut and kept her from building momentum. Not long after returning, she suffered another setback that forced her to miss additional time. She was trying to adapt to a new city, a new coaching staff, a different style of play, and unfamiliar teammates while also battling injuries. The first few weeks were frustrating. The team struggled to find consistency, chemistry was still developing, and many people wondered whether the trade would truly work out. Then something changed. Once Cunningham moved into the starting lineup before the All-Star break, her game took off. She became more comfortable, more confident, and far more productive. Over 13 starts, she averaged 11.2 points per game while shooting over 51% from the field. During that stretch, she was one of Indiana's most effective players. The Fever had found a player who brought toughness, energy, and reliability every time she stepped onto the floor. The moment that truly changed how many people viewed her came during a game against the Connecticut Sun. The matchup was already physical when J.C. Sheldon made contact with Caitlin Clark and appeared to poke her in the eye. Many players would have moved on and let the officials handle it. Cunningham chose a different response. Later in the game, she grabbed Sheldon and brought her down in front of the entire arena. The officials immediately ejected her, but that was only the beginning of the reaction. The clip spread across social media almost instantly. Her following exploded. Hundreds of thousands of new fans began paying attention to her, and she suddenly became one of the most recognizable personalities in the sport. When she later addressed the incident, she admitted she had been fined by the league, but made it clear she had no regrets. Cunningham said protecting teammates is simply part of who she is. Those comments only increased her popularity with fans who appreciated her honesty and loyalty. Soon afterward, Cunningham launched her podcast, Show Me Something, alongside her longtime friend Wes Wilson. The show quickly gained attention because she was willing to discuss subjects many others avoided. One of her most talked about comments involved Caitlin Clark. Cunningham revealed that while she was still playing for Phoenix, there had been real conversations around the league about Clark during her rookie season. According to Cunningham, some players intentionally targeted Clark in an effort to test her and send a message. While she understood that rookies often face extra challenges, she believed things had gone much further in Clark's case. After becoming Clark's teammate and seeing everything up close, Cunningham admitted that the treatment had become excessive. Her comments stood out because they came from someone who had first-hand knowledge of those discussions. This was not speculation from an outsider. It was a player sharing what she had personally seen and heard. Fans immediately took notice, and her podcast became an important platform for conversations surrounding the league, Caitlin Clark, and the growing attention around women's basketball. Cunningham never tried to soften her opinion when the conversation turned to Caitlin Clark. She spoke directly and made her position clear. According to her, anyone who believes Caitlin Clark is not the face of the WNBA or thinks the league would be in the same place without her influence is simply ignoring reality. Cunningham emphasized that she respects players across the league and values everything they contribute. Her point was not about taking credit away from others. Instead, she believed Clark's impact on the growth of women's basketball had become impossible to deny. The confidence and honesty behind those comments immediately caught attention. For a league that has spent years debating Clark's place and influence, hearing such a strong statement from a respected veteran carried real significance. Unsurprisingly, the clip spread rapidly online and sparked another round of discussion among fans. Not long after, people saw a completely different side of Cunningham. Away from the headlines, heated games, and podcast conversations, she quietly participated in Aaron Nesmith's annual charity dinner, where she helped serve meals to local families. Cameras captured the moment as she spoke warmly to people in attendance, reminding them that the event was about supporting the community. What made the moment even more meaningful was the timing. Cunningham was no longer under contract with the Fever. Her deal had expired, she had no obligation to attend, and she was not being paid for her time. Yet she still showed up and spent the evening helping others. Fans loved it. The video quickly gained traction online, and many supporters began calling for Indiana to bring her back. For many people, it revealed a side of Cunningham they had never seen before. Beyond the competitor and outspoken teammate was someone deeply connected to the values she grew up with in Missouri, where hard work and community always mattered. As her popularity continued to rise, Cunningham also began sharing stories about Caitlin Clark away from basketball. During an appearance on a podcast, she was asked about her favorite memory involving Clark. Her answer surprised many listeners. Instead of describing Clark as a larger-than-life superstar, Cunningham said she was one of the most normal people she had ever met. She joked that Clark was a huge basketball nerd who genuinely loved the game. According to Cunningham, people often expect someone with that much fame to act differently, but Clark was humble, funny, and completely authentic. She described her as one of the biggest geeks she had ever been around and said that was one of the reasons she enjoyed being her teammate. Those comments resonated with fans because they painted a much more personal picture of Clark than most people were used to seeing. The friendship between the two players soon became a story of its own. Their social media interactions regularly entertained fans, filled with jokes, playful comments, and friendly teasing. Cunningham once laughed when asked which teammate she would trust least with her social media accounts, and immediately answered Caitlin Clark. She joked that Clark enjoyed stirring things up and watching the reactions afterward. Fans loved the chemistry between them because it felt genuine. Whether they were exchanging jokes online or supporting each other publicly, their friendship became one of the most talked about relationships on the team. Even Cunningham's podcast audience frequently asked when Clark would eventually appear as a guest. The answer was usually simple and playful, leaving fans eager for more. Unfortunately, while their friendship continued to grow, the season itself became increasingly difficult. Injuries devastated the Fever roster. Clark missed significant time due to multiple health issues, and several other key players were sidelined as well. At one point, Indiana's roster became so depleted that emergency measures were needed just to keep enough players available. Cunningham herself was playing some of the best basketball of her career when disaster struck again. A collision during a game resulted in a serious knee injury that ended her season. Surgery followed and her year was over. After working so hard to earn a starting role and becoming one of the team's most important contributors, she was forced to watch from the sidelines as Indiana battled through the remainder of the season. Even as the Fever fought hard and pushed one of the league's strongest teams to the limit in the playoffs, Cunningham could only observe, knowing she wished she could be out there helping her teammates. By March 2026, the new CBA agreement had finally been settled, and free agency officially began. For Sophie Cunningham, that meant the possibility of returning to Indiana was finally becoming real. Looking back at the end of 2025, her journey had taken a turn nobody could have predicted. Google's year-end search rankings showed Cunningham as the 7th most searched athlete in the United States. Surprisingly, Caitlin Clark, who held that position the year before, was no longer on the list. During her podcast, Sophie was asked about the ranking and gave the same honest answer fans have come to expect from her. She admitted she didn't really know how to feel about it. Instead of focusing on herself, she quickly pointed out that Clark had only played 13 games because of injuries, which likely affected the results. She also admitted it was pretty cool to be the only female athlete inside the top 10. It wasn't about attention for her. She immediately shifted the conversation back to her teammate. That response perfectly reflected who Sophie Cunningham has become. As the 2026 season approached, Caitlin Clark was healthy again after an impressive international run with Team USA, where she earned MVP honors and led the squad in several major categories. Indiana was preparing for what many believed could be its strongest roster ever. Meanwhile, Cunningham continued waiting for clarity about her future. She arrived in Indiana as part of a major trade, became one of the team's toughest competitors, gained national attention, battled through injuries, built a successful media presence, and remained one of the most outspoken voices in women's basketball. Fans have consistently pushed the Fever to bring her back, and reports suggest Clark has made her feelings known regarding the situation. With expansion teams in Toronto and Portland entering the league and roster decisions becoming more important than ever, Indiana faces some major choices. No matter what happens next, Cunningham has already left a lasting impression. She spoke honestly when others stayed quiet, supported her teammates when it mattered most, and connected with fans in a way few athletes ever do. That's why people continue to follow her story so closely.